What's going on, guys? Louise here. Today to guide you through tutorial HM-1040, controlling the display. This is a key aspect in finite element modeling, as you have to rotate your model, zoom in to look at details, change the visibility of some components to see other ones, and stuff like that. So let's get to it. First, retrieve our well-known bumper.hm file. There are some basic movements we can do in our model using the mouse. So to rotate the model, hold the Control key, left click anywhere in the graphics area, hold and move on your mouse. A white square appears in the center, indicating that this is the center of rotation. Now, if you click close enough to a node, HyperMesh will recognize that as a center of rotation. So let's choose somewhere that clearly is not in the middle of the screen. Hold Control, click on that node. Now we can rotate about it. To zoom in and out, just hold the Control key and spin the mouse wheel in and out. To fit the view of the model to the screen again, hold Control key and click the mouse wheel. To pan around, hold Control, click and hold the right mouse button and move around. We can also rotate our model using the dynamic rotation option. So first, left click on it, this icon. Move the mouse to the graphics area and the center of rotation appears. Then just left click, hold, and move around. Now try the dynamic spin by right clicking on the dynamic rotation button again, moving the mouse to the graphics area and just clicking somewhere near the center of rotation. Now this makes the model continuously rotate in the direction you specified. And if you move further from the center, it rotates faster. We can use these to rotate left and right, up and down, clockwise and counterclockwise too. So they are pretty useful sometimes. Use this with the left click to zoom in and right click to zoom out, or left click on the dynamic zoom and make a circle with the left mouse button to zoom in the area you want. And we can always click and fit to fit the view back to the screen. We can swap between views using these, which indicate the plane that will be projected. Say you are very interested in a particular view. Let's put it like this. You can set it up on the screen, go to the model tree, right click and create view. Let's set another view, and anytime you want to go back to your favorite one, just right click on it and click show. Now let's play around with the visualization toolbar. We can swap through any of these options, which are pretty self-explanatory, and you may also change the view to the wireframe mode. If we want, we can manipulate our components to have different visual options. So right click on this area of the model tree and check the FE style. Now we can set any visual mode to any component. We can control the visibility of the model too. In the model tree, right click and expand all. Then click Display None, which hides all entities. Display All again. Then try left clicking on the component folder and then Display None. This hides only the components, but loads, for example, are still visible. Left click in the white space to deselect all. Then click on Display Reverse, so it displays what was hidden and hides what was being displayed. Now let's get out of the model view and go to the component view. Click on Elements and Geometry filter and select Elements. Then click Display None so HyperMesh displays no elements. As you may have noticed, every component is comprised of two compartments, one for the geometric features and other for the mesh features, and we can easily control their display just by clicking on their icons like this. We can also control visibility by masking and unmasking entities. To do that, open the Mask panel on the Display toolbar. The Mask subpanel is already selected, as well as the entity elements. So click Elements by Collector and choose Mid 1, then click Select. Then click Mask, and the elements of the components are masked or hidden, but in the model tree, its elements icon is still it still shows as displayed, showing that the display and mask actions are not connected, and they are two different ways of doing the same thing, basically the same thing. So click on Mask All to unmask all masked elements. Another way of turning our not displayed elements back on is through the Find option. First hide, say, the rigid elements, then go to the Find panel, then the Find Entity subpanel is already selected. Click Elements, choose By Collector, select Rigids, and click Find, which finds our rigids elements and turn them back on. Let's learn now how to change the display using the Mask tab. In the Model tab, click on the white space to make sure nothing is selected, Display None and Display All. Go to the Mask tab, and in the Isolate column of components, click the number 1. This way, only the components are shown, everything else is masked. In the Hide column of elements, click on a dash, and this masks all elements and leave only the geometry visible. Expand this Loads branch, and on the Show column of constraints, click the plus sign, which will display our constraint. In the Isolate column of 0D and Rigids, click on the number 1, and this will isolate the rigid elements, but do not mask. It will not mask our constraint. And that's because Isolate only deals with the top level of each list. So if we isolate something in the components list, it doesn't change anything in the load collectors list, for example. But if you isolate the top level itself, then it masks the other lists. Like if we try to isolate components, it masks our constraints and everything else. Finally, we may want to change the color of our entities. So go back to the Model tab, click on the color square, and choose any color you want. If the colors become too alike and it's hard to differentiate components, you can select your entities by clicking on the first, hold the Shift key, click on the last, click on a color square, and select Auto Color. So HyperMesh will try its best to assign different colors to them. And that was it for today, guys. We have now finished our basic HyperMesh tutorials, and we'll move on to the geometry ones. So I hope you have learned something so far. We have a long journey ahead, and I'll see you in the next one.